Hi everybody, welcome to the instructor live stream from RAOS. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about a whole heap of things, but the first thing to do is to introduce the gentleman on the screen with me, Jordan Portlock, our Assistant Head of Flight Ops. Welcome, Jordan. Tell us a bit about yourself for a start.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for tuning in. It's good to be able to get my face out and chat to you on this forum. I'm Jordan, as Jill said, the new Assistant Head of Flight Operations for RAOS, and I'm very excited to be in this role. Some of you I've spoken to, and some of you I will speak to throughout the many months and years to come, hopefully. A little bit about me. I'm coming to you from Covert Central here in Adelaide, and I've been flying for about 10 years. I first started straight out of high school and did a university degree in aviation. Then did a concurrent graduate diploma in aviation, and then I went on and did a diploma in flight instruction after that. I have done many things in the aviation world. I've done single charter, shark spotting. I did some formation skywriting, some normal skywriting, some charter, IFR and single freight around Australia. A lot of my time was spent going up through the middle of Australia, delivering mail and freight. I discovered the world of RAOS fortuitously, where a mentor of mine said, "I've got a flying school, why don't you come and have a bit of a look?" And I went and fell in love. Did my RAOS instructor rating through there, followed by a CASA instructor rating after that. And I found myself as a Deputy Cfi of one of the largest RAOS schools in Australia. One of the things that I really enjoyed about being there was actually meeting my predecessor, Neil Schaefer, and how he went about it. And I always seek to emulate some of the things that he does. So when this role came up after working in a CASA-based 142 organisation as the training manager and the deputy WHO, I jumped at it, and here we are today. So I'm very excited to be here and be on this platform to speak to you. So thanks, Jill.
Awesome. I want to talk one day about that formation skywriting. That sounds kind of fun. So basically, the intention of these live streams, as you're probably aware if you've tuned in before, is to come up with some interactions with our instructor cohort when we don't get to get out and about because of COVID. And yeah, as you said, Jordan, you're in Covert Central at the moment, South Australia. So yeah, stay safe and well down there, everyone in South Australia. Just for everyone's benefit, we do record these presentations and we put them up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel later. So there's a link that should be popping up. Oh, look at that, even better. Cody's in the background there, beavering away. There's a heap of our live streams that we've put together before. There's some National Safety Month stuff. There's some promo videos, and there's a whole heap of really interesting talks there as well. Looks like Cody's going to expand on that a bit. But anyway, that is available on the RAOS website. There's a link to the YouTube symbol on our master website there. So there's quite a lot of videos there now. So one day when you're bored and you can't go flying, you can sit down and watch some of our videos. The other thing that we'd like from our viewers is also some input as to what you'd like to see on these live streams, because we basically pick the topics. We might be boring the heck out of people. So if you'd like us to talk about something specific, then just send me an email. My email address is jill.bailey@raos.com.au. See how quick Cody is at finding that and popping it up. In the meantime, while he's doing that, the other thing is, obviously, as a team, Jordan and I are on the phones, and we're very happy to talk to you at any time with any questions. There's a number of CFIs that ring us up fairly regularly. There's a lot of CFIs that we don't hear from. We're happy to chat, and our numbers are always available. Thanks, Cody. Nice work. Our numbers are available off our website and off the Sport Pilot contact page. So let's get into it. The first thing I'd like to talk about is actually quite relevant to Jordan as well, the COVID-19 extensions that were issued when COVID first arrived on our shores in a meaningful way. So a lot of those extensions are still being carried over all the way through to December, And we probably believe by now that most of our members should be able to have gotten to a CFI or a PE or otherwise as required to get those renewals done for your pilot certificate and or instructor ratings, etc. But if your ratings are due even in this month now, you've still got another month till the end of December to get that completed. Likewise for medicals, but those extensions are finishing end of December. So if you haven't got your renewals done by then you just can't fly until you go and do your renewals beyond that point. The operations bulletin that talks about that is obviously available on the CFI portal. However, as normal, we still offer 90-day extensions as required if you are still having trouble and that it isn't possible for you to go and do a renewal for our rating and approval holders only. But we do remind you that compliance is actually up to you. It's not RAAUS's job to make sure you're compliant, it's your job. So have a good look in the CFI portal, use your members app and just make sure that your requirements are current. So that leads us nicely to our next topic. And last time we talked about our 90-day extensions and our flight reviews being processed as at the same date, provided certain conditions are being met. Oh, nice, Cody, a little banner going across the bottom there. Nice work. If you do your flight renewal for your rating or approval up to 90 days prior to the due date or with an extension 90 days after the due date, we'll actually process it at the same date, keeping it the same 2-yearly anniversary so that it doesn't shift. But there is a little bit of confusion out there. If an instructor or a CFI were to complete an endorsement of some sort, maybe they've never had tail wheel or retractable, the completion of that endorsement will reset your BFR for your pilot certificate only. It won't reset your rating or approval because you haven't done a rating or approval renewal. So that's a little confusing, but we have got a wrap about that. Wrap 7, what to expect during a CFI instructor or senior instructor renewal. See how quick Cody is at getting that up on the screen. And as many of our CFIs would know and all of our instructors should know, the CFI portal has all of these wraps up on the resources page of the CFI portal. And we spend quite a bit of time writing these in plain English, which we hope is plain English. If you discover that they're not clear or there's something you're not happy with about those wraps, let us know. Cody's showing the CFI portal link there with the resources. And even though it's called the CFI portal, it's actually available to all instructors. And if you don't have access, just use your email address and request a new password. Thanks, Cody. One of the things we wanted to remind our instructors about is if you do a rating or approval renewal, you don't need to supply a BFR form because this will actually renew your BFR as part of the renewal process. And when your renewals are complete, email that to, see how quick Cody is, members@raaus.com.au. We do have a number of email addresses and we do receive emails to all sorts of addresses, but that's the one we prefer instructors send renewals through. That's the one we prefer CFIs send through pilot certificate issues or endorsements, etc. And I'd just like to acknowledge we've got a couple of watchers there that have sent some comments through, John Benson and Tim Laidler. G'day guys, thanks for joining us. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Jordan, do you want to take the next point there? Otherwise I'll just ramble on as I do.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thanks, Jill. One of the things that our members or instructors are perhaps having a little bit of an issue with is when they send in, you've got a busy school and you send in a flight review to members at RAAUS that Cody put up before, and then you send in another one the next day and another one the next day. Normally you'll get an auto reply. However, it's actually will only come to you if you have an email for about 1 to 2 weeks. So don't worry if you don't receive an auto reply saying that we've received it. Check after we've got a 10-day processing limit. We'll process the renewals and your BFRs within that 10-day period. So if you don't see it on the CFI portal or the members portal within that 10-day period, then give us a call and we'll chase it up. But don't be worried if you don't receive an auto reply if you're constantly emailing us, which we'd like you to be, because that means you're busy. Another thing we'd like to talk about is renewals of CFI and higher approvals, so pilot examiners and regional ops coordinators, ROCs. We have a PE listing on the Cfi Portal, and you can actually arrange that directly with the pilot examiner in your area. We'd like you to go to different pilot examiners if you can in your area. And Jill and I will occasionally get around and do flight reviews and ratings renewals with you if we can. It just allows for a little bit of standardisation and a little bit of difference with different examiners around your area. We often find that we, as pilots, we get quite comfortable, and it's really easy just to go to the same person, and we end up just doing a lap around the block. However, we want to actually make sure that we're to standards, and we can always learn things. The amount of different people I've flown with, you always learn something from everybody. So use the PE listing. You don't have to contact us. You can actually just arrange it directly with the pilot examiner. As Jill said before, however, we are still here. Both of our phone numbers are readily available. Give us a call and we can talk you through the process and point you in the right direction if you're having a little bit of an issue. The next thing I'd like to talk about is flight reviews under the CASA system by RALs instructors. So we're starting to get more and more CASA instructors converting to RALs, especially higher ratings and approval holders. It's really good for us, especially during the COVID. We're getting a lot of people across, but there are some things that we want to just clarify in terms of the paperwork that comes through. So I'll hand over to Jill. She can continue on with this.
Thanks, Jordan. So the confusion exists because obviously a flight review in a CASA aircraft by a CASA instructor of a CASA pilot can count towards the RAO's pilot certificate or instructor renewal if it's an instructor level renewal. So if we call up Ops Manual section 2.07 para 5G, Cody, he just happens to have that just lying around on his screen. There's a specific reference there, and one of the things that we're discovering is happening is we're having a lot of people operating in the CASA and RALs world sending through the RALs form using a VH registered aircraft as the aircraft that was conducted in. It's not unfortunately acceptable to us, and it causes a bit of frustration. What we actually need, as is in this section that Cody's highlighted here, is simply a copy of the Part 61 license entry that you make. So if you've done a flight instructor renewal, or if you've done a pilot license renewal of some sort, and the CASA examiner has written that on your Part 61 license, send a copy of that. That is actually all we need to be able to process that. If you send a copy of an RAL's form and it's got a VH registered aircraft on it, we actually can't process it because the Ops Manual says we can't accept that. The other thing that's important to note about that is that the flight review has to be conducted in an aircraft with a max takeoff weight of less than 1,500 kilos in day VFR, and also single engine aircraft. So unfortunately, if you go and do a multi-engine command instrument rating renewal, you're going to have to still jump into a single engine 1,500 kilo MTOW aircraft in day VFR to do a renewal that we can accept. And that's just simply because we like keeping things simple here at RAOS. So while we certainly acknowledge the higher level of competency that's required potentially to operate a multi-engine aircraft in IFR, we do just like keeping things in the day VFR single engine world. So have a look at that. That's section 2.07 para 5G, and it's basically an acknowledgement, as Jordan said, that we've got such a large cohort of people who are operating in both worlds. We don't want to make things too difficult for them. We are very happy to accept those renewals. So if you do supply a copy of the RAL's form, then you're just going to get a phone call from one of our staff saying, guess what, we need the logbook entry or the license entry. If the staff do ring you and ask for that, then that's actually effectively the same as Jordan or myself ringing. So please just follow up with those requests from those staff members. Now I've got a question here that's popped up from Ross Costanzo up at Midcoast Flying. G'day, Ross. Was there a mistake in email addresses for renewals, as we had some emails bounce back? I think there was a day we had, or a couple of days, where some IT issues from Microsoft actually reared their heads. and we had some emails bounce back. There is no problem, as far as I'm aware, with any of the email addresses that have been used. And as I said earlier, members@raaus.com.au is what we prefer all of our paperwork to be supplied by our instructors to the organisation. There it is. Nice work, Cody. Thank you. And thanks for joining us, Ross. It's good to have our CFIs and instructors listen in. So the other thing we're actually getting a little bit more organised about, which is good, is regular reviews of things, including manuals, etc. And one of the things we're going to be doing every November from now on is actually a review of our forms. So we haven't quite published the form changes yet, but we will be producing all new forms for every possible recommendation, endorsement, approval, renewal, medical declaration, etc. There'll be some very interesting changes there. First off, we're going to be making them PDF fillable. Eventually the plan is to make them online, but we haven't quite gotten to that point. But a PDF fillable document so that you can open it up on your iPad, fill in the information and email it directly. We're going to be using form numbers on our forms now, and that's actually going to be referenced in the ops manual, which I'll be talking about in a few minutes. So you'll see the listing on the RAL's website. Let's see if Cody's quick enough to get that up on the screen. The form number and identifier will be in the title. That's not quite there yet. We haven't completed the form review, but the form number and details will be on the website. They'll be listed in the updated ops manual, which is coming up soon. And as I said, fillable PDF, which will just make life a whole lot easier for everybody. But you know, you do have the opportunity to give us some feedback on those forms if you're finding them challenging or confusing or otherwise. Let us know. We will try and make the forms as easy to fill out as possible, but there is some information on those forms that we need to be able to process something that's being put forward by someone. Thanks, Cody. And some of the information that's on those forms has to remain there. Look at that. It's like a live interactive thing. There's a mouse going round and round and all sorts of cool stuff. Thanks, Cody. So there's a heap of forms there. We'll be emailing our instructors very shortly to advise of the changes of forms, hopefully by the end of the month. And the only other thing that is related to that is a recent email we sent out advising people that the generic student progress form had an amendment. We removed the reference to incipient spin on one of the pages that was used for consolidation. The incipient spin is a flight exercise, obviously our organisation's aircraft can't do. What that will now refer to is a wing drop. So the stall with a wing drop and recovery, recognition and recovery from that point. So please, if you're using the GSP, download the latest version. It is only one page that's changed, so you do only have to print out one page if you're using it in printed form. But please make sure you use the current version of the GSP. We've got some cool questions coming up here, Cody. I see one there from Linda Beelhartz. Thanks for joining us, Linda. Hi, Jill and Jordan. I love the photo, by the way. That's Ayers Rock. That's very cool. I've noticed with a couple of students, the temporary membership ceases after 3 months, even though students could take longer. That's a really good question, Linda. That's right. We have got at the moment a limitation of 90 days or 3 months on temp membership. However, if they haven't done the 3 hours by that 90 days, you can actually contact the office and we can arrange an extension on that temporary membership. So ring the office. You'll need to leave a message on our message system and one of the staff will come back and give you some help with that. Yeah, that doesn't mean they can't do the 3 hours beyond that point. The 3 hours is the key limitation. That's a good question. Thanks, Linda. Up, over, down, under. I really had to think hard about that. I can ask my instructor, but while you guys are there, I might as well ask. The low-level endorsement, does that require an AFR or just a BFR? So I'm just going to see if I'm on the same page as you, up, over, down, under. An AFR is the CASA and aircraft flight review, and the BFR is RAAUS's biennial flight review, which is actually the same thing. At the moment, there's no requirement to revalidate your low-level endorsement. Ah, Tim, that's easier. Thank you. There's no need to revalidate your low-level endorsement with a proficiency or flight review at the moment. That is something we're looking at in the future as a possibility of a biennial review because the skills do degrade. That's a really good question, Tim. Thanks for that. Okay, on to our next topic, if there's no other questions on that score. So we talked last time about converting pilots. We spent quite a bit of time, and that was with Neil, former Assistant Head of Flight Ops, Neil Schaefer. And that link is, or that live stream is available on the screen that Cody started with the YouTube videos. But we've noticed again from some of the processing the staff have been doing, and Jordan, you might like to speak to this one, so I don't keep talking, about the converting pilot minimum hours PIC.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. We've talked about it in previous live streams, and it is a bit of a tricky one, looking through the ops manual, trying to work it out. And I will point out that with COVID and the reduction in the airline flying, we are actually getting a lot of converting pilots coming across with a lot of experience. And I'll talk to that in a minute, especially with the RAL specific recreational aeroplane experience. One of the things that we do want to talk about, I think Cody had up before, is a wrap. We've got a wrap on wrap 11 on converting applicants. So we advise all of our CFIs, instructors, and converting applicants to have a look at that, and sort of outlines what you'd expect and what you need to do when you're actually converting. So thanks for that, Cody. Always go and have a look at that. Some of the areas that we've been finding a few people are struggling with the passenger endorsement. So when a pilot converts over the passenger endorsement, we go to 2.13. So I'll get you to put that up on the screen, Cody. And 2.13 section paragraph 5D, which is the other one. Great. So this is for showing a pilot certificate. So prior to gaining any endorsement, so whether it be low-level formation, tailwheel, cross-country, anything like that, we're just talking about passenger in this instance. So prior to gaining the endorsements, ratings, or approvals for each of the airplane, you must consider that you have the recency, minimum recency experience requirements in 2.07. So if we go to 2.07, paragraph 10, we look at the requirements for the issue of a passenger endorsement. So a pilot must have a minimum 10 hours pilot in command. Most of the people that come across to RAOs do have the 10 hours minimum. However, they fall down on 10B, which is have a minimum of 2 hours flight time as pilot in command. Thanks, Cody, of a two-seat recreational airplane of the same group. So whilst we're getting people with an enormous amount of experience, military, airlines, flying all sorts of cool stuff, we're actually bound by the ops manual, which says you must have that 2 hours flight time as pilot in command. So as an instructor and as a CFI, we just remind you, there was an email that went out a few weeks ago on it. We just remind you that rather than doing your 5 hours minimum conversion time with 1 hour in command, minimum 1 hour command, to put 2 hours pilot in command if they want to convert their passenger endorsement across. And that could mean that you do 6 hours, or you do 2 hours minimum, or 2 hours within the 5 hour converting time there. And that just allows the member who's converting across to fully understand the differences of flying a recreational aeroplane and the high drag, low inertia that they might not be used to. Another thing we want to talk about is temporary membership. This already came up before with a good question from Linda, so thanks for that. I'll just reiterate that it's a maximum of 3 hours flight training, and we've got a 90-day or 3 month limit at the moment. However, we understand that people have lives, and with COVID and the restrictions, people can't actually do their 3 hours in the 90 days or 3 months, so we're happy to extend. We also do want to remind, in terms of converting pilots, that you can't conduct any solo operations on the temporary membership. You have to be a full member for that. We also want to remind the CFIs and instructors as well, just to keep a check on that. It's very easy for the 3 months or 90 days or 3 hours to lapse, and we occasionally see that people have done more than 3 hours without becoming a full financial member, which of course has other implications of insurance and other things that we don't need to go into here, but we just remind you to be on top of that. I'll hand back to you, Jill.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. And a big g'day to Lloyd down there in sunny Smithton in Tassie. Thanks for joining us, Lloyd. Appreciate the support. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview in general terms, because we talk a lot about operation stuff and people sit there and go, yep, that's terrific, Jill, but what about what's going on in the real world? In our application for Part 149 is actually proceeding at breakneck speed, believe it or not. We're getting very, very close to an approval from CASA, and that's actually involved a little bit of work for Jared as our head of airworthiness and maintenance, myself, and Cody. And you will see very soon, and I say very soon, it's a relative term, but very soon, issue 7.1.1 of the operations manual. So we'll be giving a lot of information and communications to people about that. The reason why it's 7.1.1 is because the changes aren't major changes. The changes are for context and for accuracy when it comes to using the terminology in 149. So by moving into the 149 world and the different regulatory relationship that RLs will have with CASA, we have to be very, very specific about the language in the ops manual. And the ops manual it's a grand old document, but we have done a lot of tweaking and editing over the years, and a lot of the language that's crept in is not quite as specific as it could be. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be issuing that to all of our schools in due course. Yeah, that will be coming up soon to help us be compliant with 149. As I said, there's not going to be any major changes in terms of what we require from our members for issue 7.1.1, and we'll be producing that with track changes or a change bar process, so you can see what's been changed in that as well. Beyond that, we actually have been, or I have been, with one of our stalwarts of the organisation, Peter John's been assisting us, based up in Queensland. We've been actually working on issue 8 of the ops manual. So that was in process and has been in process for the last 5 to 6 months. And that's actually for the first time a complete rewrite of the ops manual. So I can understand there could be a little bit of confusion out there. Right now, 7.1 is still current, still the correct version. It's up on the website. Don't do any changes yet. We'll send out a lot of communications when 7.1.1 is issued, which is going to allow us to be compliant for 149. And at some stage, we'll be sending out consultation on issue 8, which is the complete rewrite. So there are some changes coming up in the ops world, and likewise in the airworthiness world, but I'm not going to go down that path. I'll let Jared deal with that. Looks like Cody has brought up something there for ops manual, possibly. There we go. So there's the current one, issue 7.1, August 2016. So issue 7.1.1 will be probably November 2020 when it does come out. And as I said, there will be some consultation, and I've also been sending out sections of that new manual to our flight operations panel, which is a group of our higher approval holders, CFIs and PEs, who actually have been approached to assist us with some consultation in the real world. And we're obviously very happy to have other people participate in that too. The appointments to the flight operations panel are on a basic year to 2 years process, and we do have actually little subcommittees of the flight operations panel as well to help us deal with specific areas. And actually, Jordan, you might want to chat a little bit about the work you've been doing with Hugh at Broken Hill on the utility endorsement.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So recently, a guy called Hugh Lord completed his instructor rating in South Australia down at Aldinga, and went back to Broken Hill. He operates a large farm up there, a lot of cattle and sheep, and also runs a GA charter or CASA charter business with mustering as well. So on the back of that, he approached us and said he'd like to move into the RAOS world and help standardise and give some training to some of the people in the central area of Australia, or in the Broken Hill area, where there's not readable, a lot of access to that kind of training where it's actually needed. So we went through a process of working out how we create this program, standardizing it, and then actually implementing it with Hugh at Broken Hill. We're at a point now where we're sort of just trialing it, and our eventual plan is to go out into the communities with Hugh and anybody else that we can get in that space who's got the relevant experience, to give our members a bit of a understanding of what is actually required, and also maybe a bit of training where they might not have had as much training in the past. So it's a really exciting prospect, and it should be up and running early next year, fingers crossed, and we should be able to get out into the communities and start providing this training, which will be really important for those areas, sort of early to mid next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, the utility endorsement is something that's I'm driving as hard as we can, bearing in mind that we've got limitations on COVID interactions at the moment. That's delaying a lot of our work. But, as Jordan said, getting people out there in the communities that are operating on properties, buying aircraft that are perfect for using in those operations, they need training, because we're seeing accidents occurring in that area. And it's an area that RAOS is also working collaboratively with our colleagues in ASRA, in the Sport Rotorcraft Association, in gyros, and even in the CASA world, in addition to helicopters. So that area, no matter what aircraft you get up in, is a high-risk activity, and we need pilots to be trained appropriately. So we'll be sending out some more information on that as time permits as well. The big question everyone will be asking about will be, when is the MTO increase going to happen? That's a really good question. We are working again collaboratively with our CASA colleagues. There is some consultation imminent on the CAO, and I can't quite read what Cody flashed up there as a message to me, but obviously the intent is for us to get a 760 kilo max takeoff weight limitation. We'll be talking more about how we're going to manage that with our instructor cohort in due course, but there's still a few little details to be worked out in addition to that consultation on 9555. So that's very imminent. You could actually just put that up on a comment on our chat, Cody, and I can read it. Okay, moving on. There's actually in Ops Manual section 3.03, which I didn't give to Cody as a heads up. We'll see how quick he is. There's a requirement there for any new instructors to actually complete an instructor exam. And the instructor exam is being developed and implemented on our learning management system. So I know Cody had that programmed up, so I'll just see how good he is at multitasking now, whether he can get the LMS up. Yep, nice. So the LMS is our learning management system. You can see there's a little bit of basic information about that. All of our members have access to this to do courses ranging from L1, L2, weight and balance, and as I say, the instructor exam will be one of the things that will be available shortly online for that. So again, keep an eye out for CFI users and other information we'll be sending out. And there'll be a date where that will be applicable for instructors that are coming through as new instructors. So any of our existing instructors, there's going to be no requirement to backdate or do that exam as such. Now, I'll just divert a little bit. Ross has got another question. Can we use the old temp membership book as previously? Yeah, Ross, you can certainly still use the printed temp membership book. There's a number of reasons why that's still around, because obviously we're aware that not every school has access to electricity and internet readily. And so that temp membership book still means that you can comply with the ops manual by having them fill out a good old-fashioned paper form. But the online form is actually the online application is actually the preferred way for a number of reasons. One, anyone can do it anytime on any device. So they can use smartphones, they can do it from home before they come out, they can do it on your smartphone at the school if you've got that capability. It gives them instant access to all of the resources on the member portal. They get an email of welcome from us, and you get, if you're the nominated school, you get their information as a contact so that you can actually follow them up and do some marketing with them. So I think there's a lot of benefits to doing it the online way. But certainly, Ross, you can still use the good old-fashioned temp membership book by all means. And further to the work that we're doing, I mean, we're as busy as the proverbial at the moment, but we are committed to keeping our information as up-to-date as we can and following or even leading the industry in some instances with what we're doing. So Neil Schaefer, as I said, has moved now out of the ops role, now head of training and development, and he's busy as working on exam revisions and the syllabus of flight training revisions. So again, we'll be doing some consultation on that in 2021. So it's not far away. We're only 6 weeks away from Christmas and rolling over to a new year, which hopefully will be a whole lot better than 2020 was. But the syllabus of flight training we're going to be working on particularly to probably make it clearer as to the progression of a student through the requirements through to RPC, etc. Jordan, do you want to weigh in there with any info on the syllabus?
Yeah, I'm happy to. As you said, a complete look over the syllabus, just to sort of realign it with where we're heading as an organisation, and make sure we're covering everything. I'm not sure whether you just mentioned, but we're looking at upset recovery training. That's going to go in there as well, which will go a long way to making our members more proficient in that area. And as you said, Neil's working tirelessly, and something he's very passionate about is upset recovery and prevention training. And he's going to look especially at the Advanced Pilot Award, which we encourage our members to go and do, just to give them added skills. So he's looking to add a lot of that stuff into there. So there'll be quite a large change in that for the better, we think. And there's a lot more things that we're looking into to try and make it a more robust training package for our members. We think we do a pretty good job. Our CFIs and instructors do a pretty good job anyway. We want to try and give them a bit of backup and some skills and some things that they can look on and rely on to help them. So that's what we're looking for in the syllabus. And I think, as you mentioned there, continue to look at it. If you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call, Jill or I or Neil, and it's available on the Cfi Portal and the website, which is a really good resource to continue to look at to make sure you're covering everything you need to. So there's exciting times with what's happening with the syllabus moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. The other thing we're doing, because we're not busy enough in 2021, is completely revising the exam suites that are currently out there. There's some updates that we did a little while ago to recognise the changes in weather forecasting that the BOM, the Bureau of Meteorology, put out for the graphical area forecast and the grid wind point temperature forecast. But the exams have been around for a little while without review. And now that Neil has been taken out of the operation space directly, or has moved out of the operation space, he's now got time and capacity to do quite a thorough review of the exams. And again, there'll be some consultation to our CFIs and instructors for that shortly, being sometime in 2021. So just talking a little bit about our next live stream, I think there's probably a little bit of work we can do to help CFIs and instructors understand what the CFI portal has. So next live stream, we'll be actually doing a live demo of looking up some members and aircraft, etc., on the CFI portal. We'll be going through a lot of the detail that's available on the CFI portal for resources, including everything from the good old ops manual, syllabus of flight training, all of our civil aviation orders, the operations bulletins, CFI procedures manuals. There's briefings there as well. We've put a lot of work into a whole lot of resources there on that CFI portal, and hope to be able to show you that for our next live stream. We'll also be talking about how to record daily inspections, which are a critical thing for particularly our schools, but for any pilot to do. And one of the other things we'll be talking about, which is quite topical, as you're probably aware, we have a new audit coordinator, Brian Chow, who's been out and about. He's actually getting to leave his office, go and do some audits. And he's actually done some audits with all of the team members. So with Cody, our safety manager, with Jared, our head of airworthiness and maintenance, with Jordan, went over to South Australia before the COVID scare, fortunately, and did some audits, and with Neil up in Queensland. So Brian's out there discovering some consistent areas that our CFIs could improve on and our instructors could improve on. So we'll be talking about that in quite a great deal of detail with our next live stream as well. And finally, for the next live stream, we'll see how quick Cody is with this one. We'll also be talking about considerations for training in different aircraft types. So RAP1 type training, the very first RAP we produced, talks about how to transition to a new type. So there's no requirement for you to do this when you go into a new aircraft type, but it's certainly a very common sense thing to do to get trained up on what could catch you out in these aircraft when you go from even from something as simple as going from a Jabiru to a Technam. There are enough differences in those aircraft handling, locations of switches, ergonomics of the cockpit, and all sorts of other things that type training is something we strongly recommend. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any other questions that have come up while we've been talking away there. So I think we're probably pretty much at the end of our live stream. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and thanks to Jordan. Welcome to the team, Jordan. He's been working with us now for over 2 months.
Okay, it's about 4.5.
4.5. There you go. See how quickly time flies when you're having fun. We've been having a ball introducing Jordan to the RAL's team. He's fitted in very well, very welcome addition to the team. And thanks to Cody too for giving up his Wednesday afternoon for coming up and helping us. Hang on, we've just had some questions. The dot points regarding, this is from John Boots. Dot points regarding issue 8 of the ops manual foreshadowed independent SIs being able to conduct Bfrs outside of the FTS umbrella. It's a really good question, John. We're looking at expanding the opportunities for senior instructors to do some endorsement training and other things. We are considering the possibility of seniors doing Bfrs. We've just got to do a little bit of work on the risk assessment and management of that. But we think that's quite an advantage to our members, particularly in more remote areas who don't have access to a CFI or a school. So absolutely, that's something we'll be looking at, and we'll be putting some consultation out about that in due course. Can you let us know if this is still in the pipeline, and when do you think version 8 will be published? Oh, John, that's an excellent question. At the moment, we're still doing quite a bit of revision work to issue 8. We've got to basically spend quite a bit of time making sure it's robust and that it's clear, good, clear English. We'll be putting that out for consultation in due course, but obviously we also have to have our board review that document and approve it, and of course CASA have to review it. So publication date's about this far away. I actually can't tell you, unfortunately, but as soon as we can, we will have that out and about. And then there's another question here from John Benson about the SMS. So, John, you're talking about our aviation safety management system for schools, I assume? Or are you talking about the organisation's SMS? We'll assume that it's the aviation safety management system that we've asked our schools to implement, and we should actually get Cody to answer that one, sitting in the background there as our safety manager. Come on in, Cody.
Good evening. Hiding in the background this evening. In relation to the SMS, that toolkit is available for download from the Cfi Portal. Obviously, all of our schools now do require a safety management system in place, and that can be tailored to the size and complexity of your flight training school. The idea of that is that it's a living and breathing document that is working for you at your flight training school in order to assess your local risks and manage those, and is in the form of a safety policy, an emergency response plan, and a hazard register. The three key components, but obviously from a safety management system perspective, there's 15 key elements that CASA has within their safety management system within Australia. So if you do have any further information or you'd like more information about the safety management system, then you can contact us at safety@ras.com.au. Our team within the safety department will be happy to reach out to you in relation to that. Otherwise, download that toolkit off the Cfi Portal. We have created a blank template there where you can put in your personal school details, but we do hope and ask our schools to actually use that tool as well to develop that for your local risks at your airfield.
How's that? I got the email address up. There was another question there. Yeah, I know. Well, I can make it look like that anyway. John Benson had another question about whether that would be reviewed as part of an audit process. Cody, maybe you can speak to that as well.
So we do look to review that as part of the audit process as well, yes. So we'll be looking to ensure that that SMS is in place and talking about some of the risks that you have on site as well. Obviously, we hope that that document is readily available, and we hope that you're running through that with the likes of your students, especially that emergency response plan, who to contact if something does unfortunately go wrong or if you have a missing aircraft. It's a fairly simple review as part of our audit process at this stage, but we are hoping to further grow that and assist our schools in developing their safety management systems as we go through our auditing processes as well.
Awesome, thanks, Cody. The SMS or the ASMS may sound like it's just simply a bureaucratic requirement. That's far from the case. The emergency response plan, as Cody talked about, is actually a critical part of managing your school. Have a think about what would happen if you were to have a student be overdue on a navigation exercise and what processes you'd need to put in place, or the student does an outlanding in a paddock. How do you manage that process? What do your staff do? What processes do you have? Who do you call? You know, the Ghostbusters guys aren't going to help very much in that instance. So an ERP actually outlines all of that. And if you do some exercises once every 6 months or something with your instructors, that's actually got some real validity for the value of an ERP. And the hazard register is the other very key thing that's relative to your location. So at some schools, you've got everything from parachuting to gliding to warbirds to gyros, trikes, whatever it happens to be. They're all risks and things that you need to manage effectively for your flight training. So the documents are supposed to be living documents, not just sitting up on the shelf coming out for audits or otherwise.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, we're also looking at what are our key statistics that we're seeing within RAOs, and hopefully our instructors are keeping in touch with what those are. Obviously, the likes of loss of control being our number one cause of fatal accident within RAOs. What I would like to see is our schools expanding on some of those key risk areas as to what you're doing to ensure that our students are being trained, and what more you can do with the likes of your BFR reviews or your RPC training. As Jill mentioned, the utility area is one of focus as well, and just the likes of some areas where instructors are operating, they have a lot more students who are obviously going to be operating in farm type scenarios. So simply an assessment with your student explaining the fact that a standard RPC is not equipped to give tools to pilots for even spotting operations on a farm, reviewing of fences and troughs, It may seem like a simple activity flying around at 500 to 1,000 feet, but it's still catching people out. They're focused on a point outside the aircraft. They're becoming distracted, not noticing that they're flying out of balance, their airspeed's decreasing, and that's how you end up in a stall spin scenario. So there's some key areas there. For those who haven't seen it, the UK CAA Significance 7 is the list that the UK CAA put together in terms of the top 7 causes that pilots in which we see fatal accidents. It's also a good list for people to review in terms of how schools are training students to avoid those top 7 there. And just a final mention, if you haven't seen it already, jump into our live stream on YouTube from our week 3, I believe, from National Safety Month. We had Mike Hutchinson join us, who is a safety management system expert within Australia. And he spoke through our safety management systems and what schools can do there as well, with a lot of fantastic information on SMS. So jump in there and review that video if you haven't done so already.
Awesome. Thank you, Cody. Glad to. Sorry, I put you on the spot there a little bit, but you know, you're okay. You're good at talking. Apparently, we've got a couple more things there. Oh, see you, Cody. Bye. Jordan, you got a couple more comments there to add before we finish up?
Yeah, I've just got some questions that have come through on my email and just some reiterations of previous instructor e-newses. So the first one is the Bfrs and the logbook stamps. I just want to reiterate to everybody that when you're doing a flight review BFR, instructor rating renewal, make sure you sign the logbook, send in the paperwork to us. It is the examiner's responsibility to send in the paperwork to us. But you continue using it straight away. Our instructors and CFIs may remember that we reiterated in a previous live stream and in our e-news that the flight test and the issue of endorsements was actually a recommendation, and then we would they can't use it until they actually receive their certificate via their email. Just want to reiterate that to everybody. Another one that's come up is the change of CFI or Deputy Cfi. Obviously pertinent to senior instructors and CFIs that we have. So if you're looking to change your CFI or appoint a Deputy CFI, make sure you get in contact with us first. There's a process that we need to go through to make sure you meet the minimum requirements that your school for a Deputy CFI. Make sure you read the Ops Bulletin to make sure that you actually need a Deputy CFI. We don't like giving or issuing Deputy CFIs for smaller schools because it blurs the line of responsibility for that. So make sure if you're thinking about changing your CFI or appointing a Deputy CFI, give us a call first, Jill or I. Just on that, I have Neil's old number, so if you see Neil calling you, it's probably going to be me. Just give us a call and we can have a bit of a chat about that and work out the best way forward. And it might be as simple as we need a temporary CFI or something like that rather than a Deputy CFI. And the last one was just a bit of reiteration again on the Covert Observed Vfrs, just how to conduct them. We're getting towards hopefully the end of COVID, and as I say that, we've just had a spike here in SA, so I probably can't say that. The members, or you're reminded that you can actually do a Covert Observed Vfr, which is slightly different to the normal BFR. We understand that when you are in a cockpit, you're very close to each other, and we want to try and mitigate any risk of actually transmitting the disease if possible. So you can actually conduct a Covert Observed Vfr. There's a list of what you need to look for attached to the form. And once again, if you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call. Jill or I. So thanks, Jill.
Awesome. One very important point on the Covert Observed BFR can only be done if the pilot's actually current. If their BFR's lapsed, they can't operate as pilot in command. They have to do an actual 2-seat BFR. So that's caught a couple of CFIs out. Pretty important. Use the CFI portal. Make sure that the member is current. Make sure the aircraft is registered. but particularly before you send someone off to do an observed BFR, they've got to be compliant. No, they're all good points. Thanks, Jordan. All right. Well, I think we've made it to the end. Thanks, everyone, for hanging in there with us. Really appreciate it. Look forward to any more feedback or interactions with you as required. Give us a call and stay safe and well in these challenging times.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.